Welcome to Mr. Horror, where true scary stories come to life. From spine-tingling phone calls to eerie encounters in the dead of night, we bring you the most bone-chilling tales that will keep you up at night. So, sit back, buckle up, and prepare to be scared out of your wits. It was a quiet evening, and I was sitting alone in my apartment, watching TV. The phone rang, and I answered without thinking much of it. "Hello," I said, expecting to hear the voice of a friend or family member on the other end, but there was no response. "Hello," I repeated, a little louder this time. Still, there was no response. I was about to hang up when I heard a faint breathing sound on the other end of the line. "Who is this?" I asked, feeling a chill run down my spine, but there was no answer, just the sound of breathing. I was starting to feel uneasy, like something was not right. I tried to shake it off, telling myself that it was just a wrong number or a prank call. But as the seconds ticked by, I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched. Suddenly, the breathing stopped, and I heard a whisper. It was so faint that I could barely make out the words. "I'm watching you," the voice said. And then the line went dead. I sat there for a moment, my heart racing, trying to process what had just happened. Who was that mysterious caller, and what did they want from me? I tried calling the number back, but it went straight to voicemail. I felt like I was being stalked, like someone was trying to send me a message. But what was that message, and why me? As the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every sound made me jump, every shadow made me feel like I was being followed. I didn't know what to do or who to turn to. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a series of terrifying phone calls that would haunt me for weeks to come. The next night, the phone rang again. I hesitated for a moment before answering, but the curiosity got the better of me. "Hello," I said, my voice trembling a little. There was no response, just the sound of someone breathing on the other end. I felt like I was in a horror movie, trapped in a nightmare from which I couldn't wake up. "Who is this?" I asked, feeling my fear turning into anger. But there was still no answer. I hung up the phone, feeling frustrated and helpless. I didn't know what to do or who to turn to. The police wouldn't take me seriously, and my friends thought I was overreacting. And then the phone rang again. And again. And again. Every night, at the same time, the mysterious caller would haunt me with their breathing and their whispers. I couldn't take it anymore. I was losing sleep, losing my mind. I started to become paranoid, thinking that everyone was out to get me. I didn't trust anyone, not even myself. But then something strange happened. One night, the caller didn't hang up. I could hear them breathing, but I could also hear something else. It was a whisper, but this time it was clearer. I strained to listen, and then I heard it. "Help me." I didn't know what to do. Was this a cry for help, or was it just another twisted game from the mysterious caller? I felt like I was on the verge of a breakdown. Little did I know, the worst was yet to come. The haunting was about to take a turn for the even more terrifying. It was the last night before I was going to move out of my apartment. I had had enough of the mysterious caller and the constant terror they brought into my life. I was ready for a fresh start, a chance to leave this nightmare behind. But then the phone rang again. I hesitated for a moment before answering, but I knew that I had to face my fears. "Hello," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. And then I heard it. The voice of the mysterious caller, but this time it was different. There was a desperation in their voice, a sense of urgency. "Please, you have to help me," the voice said. "I'm trapped." I didn't know what to do. Was this a trick, a ploy to lure me into their twisted game once again? Or was it a genuine cry for help? I could feel my heart racing as I listened to the voice on the other end of the line. And then I made a decision. "I'll help you," I said, my voice shaking. The voice gave me an address, and I knew that I had to go. I couldn't leave someone in danger, even if it meant putting myself at risk. I arrived at the address, a rundown apartment building in the middle of the city. I knocked on the door, feeling like I was in a horror movie once again. But then the door opened, and I saw her. She was a young woman, pale and trembling, with tears in her eyes. She had been the mysterious caller all along, trapped in her apartment by an abusive ex-boyfriend who had threatened to kill her if she ever tried to leave. I helped her to escape and we called the police. He was arrested and she was able to start a new life. And in that moment, I knew that I had made the right decision. Sometimes fear can be paralyzing. It can make us feel helpless and alone. But in the face of that fear, we have a choice. We can run away or we can face it head on. And sometimes that choice can make all the difference in the world. It was a quiet evening and Jane had just finished dinner when the phone rang. She picked it up, expecting to hear her friend's voice on the other end. Instead, a low, raspy voice spoke to her. "Hello, Jane," the voice said. Jane's heart raced as she tried to place the voice. It sounded vaguely familiar, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. She took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. "Who is this?" she asked, her voice shaking. "You don't remember me, Jane," the voice replied. "I'm disappointed. We used to be so close." Jane's mind raced as she tried to remember who this person could be. Suddenly, it clicked. It was her ex-boyfriend, Ryan. They had broken up months ago, and she had thought she was finally free of him. "What do you want, Ryan?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "I just wanted to hear your voice again," Ryan said. "I've missed you so much." Jane shuddered at the thought of Ryan missing her. She had left him for a reason, and she didn't want anything to do with him anymore. "I don't want to talk to you, Ryan," she said firmly. "Please don't call me again." With that, she hung up the phone and tried to calm her racing heart. She couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled in her chest. She had a feeling that this was only the beginning of something much, much worse. For the next few days, Jane tried to forget about the strange phone call from Ryan. But it seemed like he was always in the back of her mind, like a constant presence she couldn't shake. Then the calls started again. At first, they were just a few a day, but they quickly escalated. Soon, Jane was receiving dozens of calls a day, all from blocked or unknown numbers. She tried to ignore them, but the constant ringing was driving her crazy. She started to fear picking up the phone, not knowing if it would be Ryan on the other end. One day, as she was sitting at work, the phone rang again. She picked it up, expecting to hear the same raspy voice on the other end. But this time, there was nothing but silence. "Hello," she said, trying to sound confident. Still, there was no reply. Just silence. Jane's heart pounded in her chest as she waited, listening for any sound on the other end of the line. Finally, there was a click and the line went dead. Jane's hands shook as she hung up the phone, feeling like she was being watched. She tried to shake off the feeling, telling herself that it was just her imagination. But deep down, she knew that this was only the beginning of something much, much worse. As the days went by, the calls from Ryan continued. Jane couldn't escape the feeling of being watched, and she started to lose sleep, consumed by fear and paranoia. Then, one night, as she was getting ready for bed, the phone rang again. She hesitated before picking it up, but her curiosity got the best of her. "Hello," she said, her voice shaking. This time, it wasn't Ryan on the other end. It was something much, much worse. A low, guttural growl filled the line, sending shivers down Jane's spine. She tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. Then a voice spoke to her. It was deep and menacing, like something out of a nightmare. "Hello, Jane," the voice said. "I've been waiting for you." Jane's heart pounded as she tried to comprehend what was happening. Was this still Ryan? Or was it something else entirely? As she listened to the voice on the other end of the line, she realized with a sinking feeling that this was something beyond her control. Something that she couldn't fight or escape from. In the end, Jane disappeared without a trace. No one knows what happened to her, but some say that the voice on the other end of the line still calls out, waiting for its next victim to answer. The mystery of Jane's disappearance was never solved. The only evidence left behind were the recordings of the eerie phone calls, haunting anyone who dared to listen to them. So, watch out. It was a typical day for Sarah. She had just finished a long day at work and was looking forward to relaxing at home. As she settled onto the couch and turned on the TV, the phone rang. At first, she didn't think anything of it. But as the ringing continued, she began to feel uneasy. Finally, she picked up the phone. "Hello," she said. There was no reply. just heavy breathing. "Hello, who is this?" Sarah said, her voice trembling. The breathing became more labored, almost as if the person on the other end of the line was struggling to speak. Finally, a voice spoke. It was low and guttural, like something out of a nightmare. "Hello, Sarah," the voice said. "I've been watching you, watching your every move." Sarah's heart raced as she tried to comprehend what was happening. Who was this person, and how had they been watching her? As she listened to the voice on the other end of the line, she realized with a sinking feeling that this was something beyond her control, something that she couldn't fight or escape from. In the end, Sarah disappeared without a trace. No one knows what happened to her, but some say that the voice on the other end of the line still whispers in the darkness, waiting for its next victim to answer. For days after the creepy phone call, Sarah tried to forget about it. She went about her life as usual, trying to convince herself that it was just a prank call. But then the call started again. Every time Sarah answered the phone, there was no one on the other end. Just silence. It wasn't long before she began to feel like she was being watched. Every time she looked out her window, she had the distinct feeling that someone was lurking in the shadows. One night, as she was getting ready for bed, the phone rang again. Sarah hesitated before picking it up, but her curiosity got the best of her. "Hello," she said, her voice shaking. This time, it wasn't just silence on the other end of the line. It was something much, much worse. A blood-curdling scream filled the line, causing Sarah to drop the phone in terror. She scrambled to pick it up, but when she did, there was nothing but static on the line. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she hung up the phone, feeling like she was being watched from every angle. She knew that this was only the beginning of something much, much worse. As the days went on, Sarah's fear and paranoia only grew stronger. The phone calls continued, each one more disturbing than the last. One night, as she was home alone, the phone rang again. Sarah hesitated before answering it, but her curiosity got the best of her. "Hello," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. This time, the voice on the other end of the line was clearer than ever before. "I'm coming for you, Sarah," the voice said. "There's nowhere to hide." With that, the line went dead. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she realized that this was not a prank call. This was real, and she was in danger. But before she could even think about what to do next, there was a knock at the door. Sarah's hands shook as she walked towards it, feeling like she was walking towards her own demise. When she opened the door, there was no one there. Just a single, blood-stained note that read, "I told you I was watching you." Sarah was never seen or heard from again. The only evidence left behind was the recordings of the eerie phone calls, haunting anyone who dared to listen to them. The voice on the other end of the line still whispers in the darkness, waiting for its next victim to answer. Thank you for watching these bone-chilling true horror stories of terrifying phone calls. These stories remind us that danger can lurk in the most unexpected places, even in the comfort of our own homes. If you enjoyed these stories, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a spine-tingling video. And if you have any true scary stories of your own, share them in the comments below. Remember, stay vigilant and always be aware of your surroundings. You never know who could be watching or listening. Until next time, stay safe,